the Brooklyn Nets. The biggest absolute travesty of the 2022 NBA playoffs, absolutely disgusting, disgraceful, despicable, unforgivable, shameful, incomprehensible, and pathetic on all levels of the National Basketball Association, getting absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, humiliated, straight up punked and bullied by the Boston Celtics, swept out the postseason in devastating fashion. This team has been absolutely hot garbage all season. Shame on the entire organization for having this embarrassment of a meltdown. The worst title favorites all time. It's an absolute double travesty how bad this season ended. Everybody has to be held accountable for their lack of hunger and energy. The only team to get swept in the playoffs, some of the most dysfunctional form of basketball by two of the most called so talented duos ever assemble. Fuck out of here. Can't even win a single playoff game. Not one. The worst decision ever made by Kevin Durant, now facing the heavy consequences, teaming up with Kyrie half the season Irving. No coaching experience Steve Nash deserves to get bashed. To firing Kenny Atkinson, getting rid of the young foundation, to James saying adios Harden, to ending up with Ben pathetic no-show Simmons. This team's absolutely soft, weak, no culture, no leadership, no identity, no chemistry, all that skill and talent, no cohesiveness, no hunger, the worst underachieving title favorite in NBA history. KD, Kyrie, and Harden from potential dynasties. 13 months with Kyrie head case Irving. Harden demanded out, rightfully so. This team blows, everybody knows. How's it going? My name's Wilson. I made previous videos on the biggest absolute travesties the last 2 seasons for the playoffs. Regardless of what happens next, no team to get eliminated this coming playoffs will be as bad as the Brooklyn Nets. A disastrous season all around from start to finish, from the inconsistent regular season, taking those 82 games as a joke, to Nash unexpectedly benching useful guys, to Kyrie Irving giving excuses after another. This team has nobody to blame but themselves. Too bad. Nobody should feel sorry for this type of shameful atrocity. Let's start with the so-called greatest scorer of all time, Kevin No-Show Durant. By far the worst series of his career, worst moments in the NBA, getting absolutely destroyed, locked down, suffocated, swallowed, and annihilated by the Celtics defense. Jason Tatum cooked Durant on all levels, from being bullied at Boston Garden to taking 11 shots in Game 3, a must-win, scored 16 points, from playing like shit to handpicking his coach and not holding Kyrie accountable for all those distractions and missed games. KD has proven to not be any type of leader, just a great talent and player, but not the guy to put the team together. There couldn't have been a worse start to team up with than the distractions, personal reasons Irving. 121 possessions, first 3 games defended by Tatum, locked up, 10 total points, 2 of 15 on one-on-one isos and 10 turnovers. Both Durant and Irving's third full season in Brooklyn, first year wasted with injuries. The duo played a shocking 44 out of a possible 226 regular season games together. That's less than 20%. Excluding 2020, both guys healthy to start both seasons, under 29% of the games played together. The lack of availability over this long time span proves the unreliability of both stars, both a high risk for injury, Irving a high risk of getting hurt, combined with personal reasons. The lack of urgency from Durant, who will turn 34 soon, to just ask his all-star teammate to focus and commit full time. An absolute head scratcher, from leaving the best organization Golden State to joining a disgruntled, selfish, only cares about himself Irving. Durant failed to assess all the scenarios and paid the heavy price, not getting into the conference finals since leaving Golden State. 3 years later, it's an absolute failure at all levels. Too bad when he got hurt, Kyrie still didn't have the sense of urgency to suit up for those home games. The decision signing with Brooklyn, knowing there were injury risks after the Achilles, that's been the case. Durant's missed 64 of a possible 154 regular season games the last 2 seasons, leading to underachieving regular seasons for the team. Harden filled the gap perfectly last season, while Kyrie continued on with his pile of excuses. Looking back at the Nets' decisions, too many what-ifs, could-have, should-haves. Durant deserved his props last season for those performances versus the Bucks, but the fact that he only played 17 total regular season games with Kyrie all year, and Harden gone last 2 months of the regular season to Philly. KD actually started with Harden for 27 games before Irving even suited up in uniform. The lack of collective competitiveness, Jeff Van Gundy made an absolute valid point stating the playoffs is not a pickup game. Team must grow, build chemistry, trust mental toughness. Over 82 games, facts on facts on facts. Boston did it in every way. The Nets had none of these things. They signed Goran Dragic 3 weeks before the playoffs, needing him to run the point, and Ben Street close loser Simmons provided no answers. The moment James Harden wanted out, he knew the team was screwed. Harden knew if both KD and Kyrie were healthy, they easily win the ship together with him, but he hated Kyrie so much, so unbearable. Harden was willing to give up all that, go into a less talented team. Imagine leaving Kevin Durant because another teammate was such a head case, showed no sense of urgency, shouldn't surprise anybody. Harden even gave up the luxury of having a strip club a block away from Brooklyn Nets practice facility. That's how much he hated Kyrie. All that mess, Durant's responsible for wanting to team up with Irving. Could have tried to team up with Jimmy Butler or Kawhi Leonard, but chose the most complicated player with more distractions than on-court success the last 4 seasons. His legacy would have been better off missing this postseason entirely and blame it on injuries. Pick the worst star to play with and the worst head coach possible. 0 coaching credentials. Brooklyn wouldn't be in this position if J. Kidd or Ty Lue was head coach. They actually hope players responsible. Nash lets Kyrie and Simmons do whatever they want. 2022, an absolute failure on all levels. Probably shouldn't be using those burner accounts for a while. Next, Kyrie's selfish knucklehead Irving, who's caused way more harm than good with the Brooklyn Nets. More headlines for non-basketball reasons than suiting up to help the team. First 3 seasons with the team, played a possible 103 of 226 possible regular season games. That's only 45% of those games. Many of them not even because of injury. Aside from the vaccine mandate, I don't criticize Irving for making his personal decision. He walked the walk by giving up the money, choosing what he felt was best for him. But even without the vaccine requirements, Irving would have missed at least 20 games anyway with a combination of injuries and personal reasons. Absolutely pathetic. There's a reason why Celtic fans hate him. From quitting on the franchise to acting like he's above his teammates. Will have a player option next season. Max contract extension coming up. Do Brooklyn pay him? Hell to the fucking no. Way too unreliable. Not a guy to depend on. Even needing him in the worst ways to show up because Kyrie's simply about Kyrie and how he's feeling in the moment. Doesn't treat his job as a main priority. What's talent without chemistry? What's talent without accountability? What's talent when you're being a detrimental to the team by not showing up, getting destroyed in round 1? Many delusional Nets fans that gives Irving the benefit of the doubt, blinded and mesmerized by his abilities, likes to ignore all these distractions. Yes, the world's imperfect. There's tragic foreseeable events that happens once in a while. After the incident of January 6 in 2021, Irving decided to take time off because he was disgusted about what he saw on social media. Things happen. Everyone has a right to voice their frustrations, but to not show up for work for unrelated work reasons because your feelings got hurt from an outside event, Irving does not deserve a pass when all his other teammates and everybody else had to go to work and everybody working 9 to 5 jobs all have to show up to work. They can't just not show up whenever they feel like it, otherwise they get fired from their jobs. Resulted in 7 straight missed games. Irving wasn't even suited up for Harden's first 2 games with Brooklyn, an attitude that defines a slap in the face to hardworking people. During his absence, a video shown Irving partying for his sister's birthday, which I don't have a problem with, but with the hike of the strict protocols in COVID, the fact that possible consequences could have been faced led to more distractions and unnecessary outside noise. Given the fact that the media only cares he was caught partying during his hiatus, and Coach Nash said he was unaware and didn't hear back from Kyrie, have some fucking accountability for your players, Mr. Head Coach. Do Nets fans and Kevin Durant, the role players, want to deal with another season of all of this mess? Nets fans were left praying for his return, but that ultimately hurt his team overall. Brooklyn went 12-6 without him last season. Harden carried most of the regular season. If Irving would have suited up for a couple more games and helped his team win more, they would have had home court advantage throughout the East and wouldn't have to play Milwaukee till the conference finals, giving everybody a chance to get healthy and win the ship. But guess what? Irving got hurt and of course missed the final 3 games of the playoffs. Harden forced to get back out there on one leg. This article, written in 2020, reports Irving called out the Celtics, saying the young guys don't have what it takes to be a championship level team, what it takes every day, and blame it on having no expectations when everyone played free and easy. The young Celtics never look better right now, and Kyrie not practicing and failing to commit and make certain sacrifices to help his team in a better way. Given that Boston went 12-3 without him in 2019 and just 37-30 with Irving in the lineup shows his hostility in holding the franchise back, of course with the mandates, given his different perspective in viewing the world differently. Irving made it clear he was never getting the shot under any type of circumstances, stood his ground, willingly left monies on the table, while Harden was excited in trying to win a championship. Of course, Irving and the Nets left Brooklyn hanging. The team didn't even allow Kyrie to practice until he complied with the COVID mandates. It wouldn't have been surprising if Kyrie didn't play a single minute this season if the old New York City mayor was still in office. Although he was allowed to play in road games, Nets didn't even let him, and Durant was still patient. Many stars would have wanted him traded already. Harden was absolutely steaming, even if he wasn't playing with the team. The fact that he was at a seat in the whole game as a spectator happening the same time his Nets had a game December 10 on the road versus Atlanta shows Irving wasn't even in close contact with his own team. Die-hard fans watch all 82 games, being one of the best players and doing other things instead of being fully committed to watch his team. Even if he wasn't able to play, shows his true colors. January 12th, a tweet went out on Kyrie being in a Zoom call the same time as Nets Nuggets. Shows he cares more about other things during his time he's supposed to work. Can't handle his personal priorities without being a distraction to his team. He can never carry a team like Dame Lillard on the Blazers. Weeks before his debut at Indiana, the whole team pretty much had to quarantine, scramble for players. Nets realized they needed Kyrie back. Although the vax mandates lifted weeks before the end of the regular season, the team's vulnerable record and having to fight for a play-in spot was an absolute travesty of a failure. That's too bad. The worst of the worst, the pathetic, useless, bona fide loser, weak-minded prima donna, Ben who's scared to play Simmons. How do you have a professional basketball player scared to play basketball? Went from being scared to shoot to scared to play. The biggest loser in all professional sports, entitled, spoiled, the worst thing to ever happen to the NBA. How many 6'10" guys do you know scared to shoot open layups? Provided Nets fans false hope, everybody calling him out, absolutely correct. Simmons has no dog in him, no toughness, weak-minded, a straight-up soft loser, quitting on the Sixers, not wanting to hear from his teammates who tried to reach out to him, bragging about his IQ, bragging in practice, being able to dunk the ball to get it on video, to backing out from facing more humiliation. Ben Simmons' attitude, the biggest absolute travesty the NBA has ever seen, toxic, a straight-up diva, a straight-up clown, was supposed to suit up for Game 4, but all of a sudden he woke up and his back sore. He didn't even want to go out there. Fuck out of here with that nonsense. Joel Embiid has a torn ligament on his finger, needs surgery, still competing his tail off, and the fact that Simmons had the audacity to file a grievance for his $20 million salary withheld from Philly when he didn't want to play, a sore loser. Rich Paul doing Simmons way more harm, combined with the bad advice to not caring, finessed the NBA, made his millions to not play, a slap in the face to hardworking people all over the world, using mental health as an excuse. Has he reached out to DeMar DeRozan or Kevin Love for advice? I bet not. Simmons is an absolute embarrassment. From quitting at LSU, weak-minded, quitting on the Sixers, quitting on the Aussie Boomers, didn't even want to play in the Olympics to improve his game, could have silenced his critics, and now quitting with the Brooklyn Nets. Quitters always quit, losers always lose. Ben Simmons will be more known for his clause in the next CBA. A bad luck for all the players, a disgrace to the game. Imagine how inconvenient to have to play in the NBA simply because you're 6'10 and good at the game. There's millions of people without the talent who would die to be in Ben Simmons' position right now. Brags about how he could have won Defensive Player of the Year. He was his own Defensive Player of the Year for locking himself out the whole year. Didn't want to play ball. Didn't even want to provide 20 minutes and be a role player. All that build up, crying for attention. Boston's Robert Williams tore his meniscus a month before and didn't even need any ramp up. Actually came to play. Simmons' entire salary should be withheld and banned from the NBA for another full year. And if he still don't care, just let him retire and stay away from the league. There hasn't been another NBA player I hated more than the pathetic loser Ben Simmons is. Many undrafted guys, not even having 1% of Simmons' skills, I'd take Alex Caruso over Simmons on my team. I'd take Jose Alvarado over Simmons. Give me anybody who cares to play hard and show effort. Imagine getting paid $30 million to play basketball for a living and you cry about it and make excuses. It's no coincidence Simmons ended up being on the biggest absolute travesty in the playoffs in back-to-back years. Shame on Ben Simmons. Steve Nash, the worst head coach in the NBA, has no clue what he's doing, watches the games just like us, no timeouts, continues to play three smalls in Curry, Irving, and Mills, 6'3" and under, getting bullied and scored on consistently, failed to play Blake Griffin till late game 3, the only guy with any sort of intensity, doesn't run any plays, doesn't hold his players accountable, too nice of a guy, too much of a player's friend. Adding Goran Dragic late in the season to become the primary playmaker is a joke, should have gotten fired after losing 17 of 20 games, played old James Johnson way too much in crunch time before the team needed to waive him, refused to play rookie Cam Thomas all series, put in a difficult situation from the beginning, doesn't have the personality for the team, especially having to deal with Kyrie's difficulties and soft baby Simmons. Patty Mills, who was god-awful the second half of the season, last 23 games, 33% from the field, 6.4 points after putting up 14 a game, 43 from 3 his first 48 games. Ineffective in the playoffs, already 33, got wrecked out there on D alongside the small size of Curry and Irving, super ineffective when the team needed him. Mills is who he is at this point. Seth Curry, just in addition from the Harden trade, one of the Nets who played with heart and balled out in game 4, having to deal with loser Simmons on the different team. Excruciatingly painful, outperformed overall given his bad ankle and questionable to even return for the postseason. Curry deserves lots of respect. Andre Drummond, who continues to be an absolute travesty, unplayable, one of the least skilled physical bigs in the game, makes boneheaded plays after another, those disgusting turnovers, from trolling to losing. Karma will forever be known for cursing the Lakers and Nets with these foolish memes after failing to grab the rebound with 2 hands and tapping it to the opposing team. Shows the effort he truly puts in.
He doesn't have advantages right now.
Tatum too hard off the glass.
What is Drummond doing with all these tips?
Not a winning player, doesn't have winning attitude, a minus for every team. That's why he didn't get more than the minimum, and Philly didn't care to get rid of him. 4 postseasons, a combined 2-15 laughable record, swept with the Pistons twice, decided to play with LeBron, lost round 1, joined Durant's team, same result. Is everyone finally convinced the Drummond curse is real? Nick Claxton, the only memorable moment of his season, dunking on LeBron on Christmas Day. 23 years old, has been an absolute travesty at the stripe. A career 54% foul shooter, not good enough yet, too fragile to be a legit rim protector, long ways ahead, needs to put on weight, a terrible free throw shooter, even worse than DeAndre Fraudin. Over the 4 games, 4 of 22 from the line, bricks on bricks on bricks, 18%. Are you kidding me? Choked in game 1 where his team could have been up more in the closing minutes. Only remember for missing the most free throws to begin a playoff game, breaking Shaq's previous record, 1 of 11 from the line in an elimination game where his team only lost by 4. Boston shot 18 of 22, Brooklyn 17 of 29. A free agent, might be his last game with Brooklyn. Bruce Brown, who's proven to be able to show up for the Nets. Brooklyn played into the game with Boston's hands trying to let Brown beat them, put up 14 a game. Nash didn't play him some games throughout the regular season, not known for his offense, attempted more shots in an 0-2 situation, pretty much tried to cover for the no-show Ben Simmons role, one of the Nets that deserves an applaud for putting in the effort. The soon-to-be 26-year-old, a great role player to have for any functional team, might have played his last game as well with Brooklyn. Goran Dragic, shame on him for refusing to play with Toronto. That decision has been tragic. A team not good enough for his standards, stepped away for personal reasons. The team now 2 more postseason wins than his Nets, perhaps more. A late addition, actually played decent. But to get it brought in late and play 20 minutes a game couldn't have made a worse decision of an outcome. Blake Griffin, who deserves my full respect for this series, the only guy who played with heart every second he was on the floor, hustling, make things happen. Although he's washed, Griffin stayed ready and went to war till the very end. Granted, he can't guard anybody, the only Net to earn an applause for willingly accepting his role as a declining player. If any young kid learned anything from this series, Griffin's work ethic should be inspiring. Nash should have played him earlier. He balled out, not knowing if he was even gonna ever see time on the floor ever again. Could have easily pulled a Ben Simmons and refused, but Griffin's attitude does not represent sore losers like Simmons. Everybody else on the roster, just secondary thoughts, deep on the bench role players. I feel sorry for LaMarcus Aldridge, coming back from retirement and ended up in this mess, not good enough defensively. And y'all thought I forgot about but I haven't Joe below average Harris. After signing the extension, halfway through, just 83 regular season games in 2 seasons, no-show Joe, still an absolute travesty for choking and breaking versus the Bucks. The Game 7 wide open 3 in OT, a heartbreaker, had 5 points in Game 5, just 3 points in Game 3 on 1 of 11 shooting, missed jumpers after missed jumpers, too many what-ifs, has not lived up to the money he's given the lack of size. The team absolutely missed Harris these playoffs, despite how terrible he's been in the most important moments, have not lived up to his expectations after getting that money. A lot from this season's meltdown. Nets missed the leader in Jeff Green, now on Denver. Green responsible for having good attitude, adapting to all the stars, had 27 big points last season Game 5 versus Milwaukee. None of the Nets role player this season had any type of capability like that to step up. Brooklyn lacked a true playmaker, too much mixing and matching lineups to no answers. Ultimately came down with the lack of foundation. Kyrie's shitty attitude, showing up whenever he wants, needs to stop. If Irving tells them he's still gonna miss games due to personal reasons from time to time, team needs to literally let him go. It's not fair for the organization, to his teammates, and to the fans. I can't imagine any other team trading anybody useful for the distracted Irving. And get rid of the useless, pathetic Ben Simmons. Minnesota protesters spend more time on the court than loser Simmons. Another point, Irving can say whatever he wants, knows he's in this position due to what he's caused, but does not simply care enough. Weak defensively, the regular season crazy games don't mean jack shit. Weak defense, last 3 games versus Boston, horrendous numbers, didn't even attempt a shot from full court in the Game 4 and elimination game, while down 0-3, while CP3 attempted 1 in Game 4 versus the Pelicans. Shows the difference in attitude and will to win. Kyrie combined with Simmons, the worst attitude in the entire league. If I was KD, I'd demand a trade. Get away from toxic Kyrie and the pathetic loser Simmons for his own basketball's sake before he ends up with similar results a year later. A reminder, the 2019 Nets, more playoff wins than this 2022 despicable outcome. Goes to show the toxic Kyrie Irving has caused. How can any reasonable Nets fans still want him on the team acting like that? 5 long months to regroup, sit down, and figure shit out. If Irving's still with the Nets before the start of Nets season, Net fans better pray. I mean pray. You won't hear any negative outside noise relating to Irving missing time. That's been the norm. Kevin Durant will need multiple prayers and needs to truly think about making the right decision and surrounding himself with better leaders and different teammates who's willing to commit to playing every game if they're not injured. The miles and big injuries in the past, Durant certainly needs a lot of help and guys to commit to playing every game. If the same 3 happens next season, expect similar results. That's just inevitable. My advice for Kevin Durant to look in the mirror. Do you want to play with winners and guys willing to go to war and leave it out on the floor every night? He's gonna watch the rest of these playoffs, look at some of the players who truly cares, puts everything out there. Surround yourself with those guys, not clowns, not guys who makes too many excuses to not play, guys who are willing to go to war, leave it out there on the floor every single night. If the answer is yes, there's many of those players elsewhere. It's honestly not that hard of a decision if you want to win more championships to enhance your legacy. But right now, Durant having 2 particular players on his team, if his fans and organization needs to beg them to go out there and play, you're already lost. Make the right decision. Thank you so much for watching this video. Are the 2022 Brooklyn Nets the biggest absolute travesty in NBA history? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.